Hey guys, Kaenken here with a double review. This time I'll be reviewing the RKF Kamen Rider Saber, Brave Dragon, and Kamen Rider Blades, Lion Senki, from Kamen Rider Saber. These are the Rider Kicks figures for our main and secondary rider, and each includes their Seiken, an alternate sword driver, and 2 alternate hands. So, let's get started. First up, we'll look at Kamen Rider Saber, Brave Dragon. So here we have our main rider in his default form, and to start we'll talk about the body structure. So Saber and riders like him in Blades are similar to kind of segment-based riders like Double, O's, and Build. However, unlike with those riders, where each segment needs to be filled in order to make a form, in the case of these riders, only one book or one side needs to be filled to start off a form, and then others are filled in later. So, starting off with head, you can see from the side that it has the tip of the Kaenken Rekka singing out like a horn. And though it's not painted here, you can tell that's the Rekka in the show because the inside part is red in color. And then you see his very unique visor, which is this flaming cross slash. Additionally, he has the right side of his face filled in with this flame segment, whereas the left side and top are blank, and that'll come into play when we get to different riders. Then we have the key detail being the right side of his body, which is filled by the flame dragon. So here we can see the dragon head with the painted eyes, the dragon scales that run down the side of the body, including this side cloak, and then his arm, which has flames on it. If we look at the inside of the Brave Dragon Wonder Ride book, we can see that basically the actual segment is depicted, or it's what is depicted within the story page of the Wonder Ride book. As you can even see that down here is the lower jaw of the dragon's mouth. So basically you've got the head and body, and then the arm is the flames that's spitting out. You have the middle segment, which is all white in color. Then you also have the sword continuing down from the face and into the body. And for the left side, you have it being in this black color with these red stripes that run down the body. And you can see that you actually have that same detail on the right leg when you uncover it. And naturally on the back it's unpainted. For articulation, you got a ball jointed head, shoulders go in and out. Though for the left arm, what you have to do to make it go all the way out is actually bend it down and then move it outwards. There's also a bicep swivel, a single joint elbow, wrist rotation, torso ball joint. Like I said before, the cloak is on a hinge. You can also see the sword driver with the Issatsu holders. Legs go forward and back, in and out. Have a swivel here, deep single joint knees, and ball joint ankles. So pretty standard for a Rider Kicks figure. For his accessories, the first one is the Kaenken Rekka. So you can just focus in on it. You can see it's all red plastic with some silver for the art part of the blade. And then, as is typical for these rider figures, there's a lot of nice molded in details. Now if you want to actually have them be accurate, when holding it. We can switch out the sword driver with the Seiken already inserted, for this alternate one that has the Seiken removed. And so then, we can take it and place it in his right hand. And it is a pretty decent size for the figure. Then, as you can probably tell, the alternate hands are just for the left side. So we've got two. One with his fingers kind of curled out like this, and then another one with him actually holding a Wonder Ride book. You can see they did a good job of molding in the different details, including all the details on the back of one of the books. And so, as always, you just switch out the hands by unplugging the previous hand and then placing the new one in the socket. And you can then pose them as you see fit. Second, we'll look at Kamen Rider Blades, line Senki. So, unlike with Saber, since Blades has his book in the center slot, his middle segment is filled in while the left and right sides are blank. We're starting with the head. Once again, he has the tip of his sword sticking out the top, in this case Suiseiken Nagare. You can see his visor, which is this curved slash that matches with his symbol. You'll see that the left and right sides of his head are blank, meaning while the top portion above the visor is filled in. So we can get an idea of how the different books affect what's filled in on the helmet. Then we can get down to the actual body. We have the blue line on his chest with the mouth open and eyes filled in. And you see that this does match up with the line depicted in the line Senki Wonder Ride book. That also fills in this kind of coat tail on the front and back, as well as the legs, which are now blue in color. Speaking of the back, we have these two kind of water-like scarf tails. And these are on these joints that don't really move, but these are soft, flexible plastic. Meanwhile, the actual coat tail is on its own joint. Then you have the left and right sides. Well, it actually is a little bit of asymmetry in terms of the designs, where the lines, the white lines along the body, don't quite match up on either side. He also has a bit of this dark silver color on the thighs. So the overall articulation is about the same. Got the ball joint head, the shoulder rotation in and out, and of course, like with Saber, you have to move down the shoulder joint in order to get all the way out like that. The bicep swivel, elbow joint, wrist swivel, torso joint, and you can see that they did color in the blue underneath the line head too. Legs forward and back, in and out, thigh swivel, single joint knees, and ball joint ankles. And so for his accessories, the first one is, of course, the Suiseiken Nagare. And with this one being a blue color, you can more easily see the details, and you can probably see that they even detailed in all the little markings on the inside of the blade. Of course, just like with Saber, we'll switch out the sword driver with the Seiken in to the one without it. And if we look at the two, you can probably see that the one for Saber does have the Kaenken Rekka emblem on it, whereas the one for Blades has the Suiseiken Nagare emblem on it. And so just like with Saber, Blades can easily hold his sword in either hand. Though like with Saber, he typically uses it in his right hand. Just like that. And as you can see in the beginning, he has the same two hands for the left side as Saber does. Well, that's not it. This is. So again, we have the one holding one ride book and the one that's got the fingers curled. Now these seem to have very tight ball joints or pegs on the wrists, so it might be a little bit tough to replace them, but they, in theory, shouldn't break. And as far as I know, mine just might be a bit of a QC issue. But with the right accessories picked, you can of course pose them as you see, or as you please. And there we go. Overall, these two make for a solid start to this year's RKF line. They have all the right details molded in, have just the right amount of paint, and with a combination of articulation and accessories, you can get some very nice poses out of them. I will say that going into this year with the use of these cloaks, I was a little bit worried that we might run into a situation where it might have turned out similar to the Wizard Action Please series from several years back, where they were these, flexible capes that basically, if you had them posed in a certain way too long, would stick in that pose, but thankfully they decided to be smart and use joints here to kind of try to negate that or minimize it as much as possible. And these two are quite nice for the size. Speaking of size, one subtle detail is that, as you can see by me bringing in the RKF 01 Rising Hopper, the figures have actually gotten a little bit taller since last series. So that does make them feel a little bit more substantial. Now obviously with these ones there is no form changing gimmick similar to the 01 RKFs, though it does seem that that's going to be possible in the Soto line of Keijo figures, so that's something that you might want to consider going after if you're into that, though I personally don't like to collect those figures myself. Though there is certainly the possibility that later on down the line we will get a set similar to what we did last year, where there's going to be kind of this self-contained Saber set that does allow for some different form changes. So if that's more your bag, it might be worth waiting for. But overall, if you're a fan of Saber or Blades, there's definitely some solid figures to pick up for some nice details, paint, and posability. Next time, I'll be reviewing the Deluxe Dogoken Gekido. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and if you're new and would like to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. And for now, this is KRX50, riding off.